In this video, we will look at how to create an assignment like a midterm or a final exam, for example. So you go to your section, your current section for your course. You click Add an Assignment. Then you will find several options. I will choose Question Bank. And notice that you will have some choices here. If you would like to use some information from the actual ebook, then we can click on the textbook and notice that you have two choices here, listening and speaking, reading and writing. Let's look at reading and writing and see if there's something we would like to choose. So because my course is focusing on chapters 6 through 10, I will look at chapter 6 or chapter 7 to see if there's something there that I can pull to use for my midterm, for example. So let's click on chapter 7, test, and let's click select and see what we have. Okay, so we have some options here. Before I look at this, I want to bring your attention to unnamed assignment. Let's name this assignment Ping 5 midterm, and I will put fall 21 quarter 1. So now that I have that, I have the name of the document. I want to look at some of these questions to see if there's anything I can use. So let's look at the reading comprehension. So here we have a nice reading selection, and we've got some questions here already below. So those look good to me. If I want to use those, I will click Add this question. I'm going to choose Add as an individual question. Okay, and so notice here that the points are 10 points. There are 5 questions in this particular part, so those are worth 2 points each. Now, I'm not finished, so let's see if we can add any more questions. Let's look at question 2 here in this particular part. So it looks like the same reading, and it looks like there's some different questions here. So I think I'm going to add this question as well as an individual question. Okay, so now I have 2 questions in my document here, but notice that I have items here as well, and those are worth 10 points as well. So I don't think I'm going to choose these options here. I might put those in a practice test. This as well, I might put this in a practice test for my students so that they can see that there are some words that they might want to be familiar with. I click continue. Notice I've only put in a couple of questions. So let's go back and see if we can add some other. So I'm going to click edit assignment. Okay, so far I have 2 questions. I want to add some more questions. So before I do, here we go, add questions. So now I can go back to that same chapter test. I can go to optional activities. Let's see what's there. So I'm going to go to listening and I'm going to go to reading and writing optional activities. I will click on that. I pulled something, I think, from chapter 6. I want to pull something from chapter 7 now. I click select, and I see a writing task. Let's look and see. Okay, so here's an essay question. And here down at the bottom it says write a paragraph about the best volunteer job for you. So students would actually write into that, so that looks good to me. So we're going to add that question. We'll add it as an individual question. And okay, now, and notice that that was worth 10 points as well. So far everything that I've added is worth 10 points each. I want to create a question. So maybe I don't want to use any of these questions from the actual resource. So let's create a question. So I click create a question, and I want to know what type of question I want to create. So maybe I want to do a multiple choice question. So it takes me to this window, and notice that it says question 4, But let's imagine that this is for a reading. So I'm actually going to label it reading question. And I'm going to put reading question number 1 because it's the first one that I'm going to write in. Okay, now here is where I put in the question. Now, one thing you can do is if you have a reading, you can copy and paste the reading that you want to use here. Okay, and then just below the reading, you type in the question. So imagine this is the reading, okay? I'm going to make some space and I'm going to write question number 1 and I will type in my question here. Below is where I will type in the possible answers. Now you see that the answer choices, this is not very intuitive, okay? You can't just type into this little box. You'll see that it makes this, okay? So let's imagine that this is the correct answer. I will type in the correct answer to the question here, and I have the green mark checked so that I know that this one is the correct answer. Now, from what I understand is if I put the correct answer for all of them as A, then I believe that all of them are going to show up as A as the correct answer. So you may want to maybe make B the correct answer on the next one or D the correct answer on the following one. So once you have that information for your one question, then you can add a new one. You can click add a new one and make another multiple choice. So if you want to make another reading question, okay, nothing was saved, you must correct these errors. Okay. So in order for me to add a new one, I must save this information. So let's imagine that we save this information. I will do the same thing if I have more than one reading question. I will simply label the question title reading 2. I will copy and paste the same reading into this particular part, and I will change question 1 to question 2. Now, this is the long way of how to do it. This is the only way that I know how to do it. So, in this particular way, though, you know that every question is the reading question 1. Make sure question 1 is the same down here, and make sure you have the appropriate choices down here. Once you have all of your questions, you click Save. Now, let's imagine that we did that. So I'm going to exit. So, okay. Exit. Yes. Okay. So I will click out of this and I will show you what the final result will look like. So I will go to a previous section. Cancel. Okay, so if I go to a previous section, then I will see that I have an exam that was already made. Okay. So I go to midterm and I see here a midterm from last year. So here, let's look at the preview. So some things that we can do. So I've got some questions here that I pulled directly from the question bank in the ebook. And let's imagine that I need to make some edits on this assignment. So I click Edit. Okay. And let's imagine that I want to change some of these points. Okay, so I'll click individually. Oh, we go back to list. Okay, so here I can actually make the points different. I click continue. And I can set the due dates. I can actually set the start date and I can set the end date and submit as is on due date, and you can make all the proctoral options that are shown in another video. Review and assign. And you can share it with the sections that your colleagues share with you. So you would make all policies the same, and then you click Assign. And that's how you make an exam. That's how you edit the exam. If you need to, you can go back in. But like I said, this whole program is not very intuitive, so there are it's kind of clunky as you're going along. And feel free to play with some of the items. If you're using a reading that's not in the Connect platform, you're using something else, you may want to use a Google Doc where you're typing in the actual reading and you can copy and paste it into the question box.